welcome to the Church Brand Guide podcast. My name is Michael Persad. This is the podcast where we want to serve you as your virtual communications director to provide clear communication strategy because we believe that confusion is the enemy of your vision. All right, welcome to Church Brand Guide. My name is Michael Persad. I'm here today with Pastor Brandon Serig. Hey, Pastor Brandon, why don't you take a moment just to introduce yourself just for our audience?
Yeah, my name is Brandon. We launched a church back in August of 2019, which has been one of the most challenging years ever to plant a church. However, we've seen God do some incredible things already within our first year. So I'm a church planter that spent 15 years as an associate pastor at different churches across the country, and excited to be with you today.
Awesome. So our topic today is that we're going to be diving into this idea of why does a church need to focus on building a brand? And I think it's going to bring a lot of clarity about the idea of, how do you reach people today? So let's just dive into that. Our platform here at Church Brand Guide is really designed to help you cut through the noise that's happening in our world today, to help strangers ultimately become people who contribute to the vision of your church. Because when that happens, we see more guests showing up at your church on a weekly basis. We get to see life change taking place because of that. And we get to see more people contribute to the vision with their time, their finances, and you get to see things happen in a very amazing way. One of the things that we've seen here in South Florida, my family and I moved down to be part of Vibrant Church in South Florida, and we've had the privilege in just a very, very short amount of time to see a brand new church that had no roots in the community build up a great community. In fact, before all the COVID things happened, Pastor Brandon was saying how our church has gotten to the point where there was over a couple hundred people now that had showed up on a weekend. Brandon, can you speak into that? How's the growth been for Vibrant Church?
So we followed the ARC playbook, which was a launch large model. And with a launch large model, there's also a large dip. So we dipped down to about 150 people. And what many church planners will tell you is for the first 6 months to a year, you're just trying to slow the dip that you're going to keep going down. What we saw was actually something a little different. We actually saw a slow, steady growth up. So we bottomed out about 150 people and broke 200 outside of a holiday for the first time right before COVID happened.
I was when you told me that, I remember just being surprised. I was like, "Oh my goodness! That's pretty cool." And I think a large part of that is just there's a lot of pieces to it, but I think a large part of it is that people can understand why they need our church, and really that's what a brand is. It's positioning your church in a way that solves a problem for people. A lot of pastors that I talk to as I serve churches, building brands for different churches all around the country, they kind of say the same thing. They feel like they're the best kept secret in town. And the truth is, if I just believe, and I know you believe it too, if they could just hear the message that you have, they would love it. The church is designed for people today. But the sad truth is that too many churches are perfectly equipped to reach a world that no longer exists. This is a quote from Carey Nieuwhof. I heard him say that. And I was like, oh man, that perfectly describes what I've seen, is that too many churches just aren't relevant. It's people don't understand why they need church today. Pastor Brandon, what do you see when it comes to that?
Yeah, I think it's true. We have a model that was created in the 1960s, some even before that, or a model created in the early 2000s. And that world doesn't exist anymore. There's new generations that are coming up. The way we interact between things like Airbnb and Uber has just changed the world that we live in. And churches need to be changing their model, not their mission, not their message, just the model of how they do it. And too many churches they carry a model to reach a world that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, we talk about Uber, but a while back, about last summer, I remember going to on a trip, and we booked an Airbnb. In the past, we used to book a hotel, But now there's an Airbnb where you can stay in a room on the back of somebody's house. And we had a great time. The room was really nice, had great reviews. We showed up, everything was there. We had a pool in the backyard. We stayed in a wonderful, my wife and I, we stayed in just this wonderful place. It cost us like over half less than it would normally cost us. And there's just another option. There's just another way to do things. You know, you used to try to get a friend to take you to the airport, but now you have an Uber that just can pick you up whenever you need to go. And it's the same thing. We're just doing it different. Pastor Brandon, do you remember doing like mixtapes? I don't know if you grew up in the 90s like I did, but like you'd record some stuff on a tape. You remember doing that?
100%. I made mixtapes.
So now we have this thing called now we have Spotify where we can just create a playlist of our favorite stuff. I mean, I love doing that. I can hear a great song. I just tap on the button, throw it in my playlist, and now I have this really great list. And now I can even share it like with any people I want to. It's amazing how we're doing the same thing. We're just doing it in a different way.
Yep.
And I think the church has to be able to do that. So branding is just being intentional so that we are able to cut through the noise. If you think about Times Square, man, if you've ever been to Times Square in New York City, it's just a lot coming at you all at once. In fact, they say there's like 1 million people that are in Times Square on a regular basis. And they have billboards and signs and everything's lit up. And it's really hard to get your bearings in Times Square. It's just overwhelming. But that's what's happening in the world today, like in the lives of most people. Everything that we do, from social media to watching YouTube to Hulu or whatever it is that you do, and however you consume whatever you consume media wise, like there's just so much noise coming at you. And a brand helps you to cut through that noise. It helps people know why your church is important to them. And that's critical today. Like we have to get that right as a church. What you have to say, your message is extremely valuable and people need it, and we have to get it right. You know, our Bible tells us a lot of great things. But as I look at it through my branding goggles, so to speak, I see stuff like this where Jesus is talking in Matthew chapter 4, and he says, "Follow me and I will send you out to fish for people." And really that's what branding and marketing and all those things are. It's fishing. And I think Jesus is very intentional. I'm not the pastor or the scholar, you know, in this conversation, but I see that Jesus is being very intentional. Like you have to fish. Like the fish don't come and just like jump in the boat unless Jesus performs a miracle or something, you know, like he did. But for us, like they don't. So I feel like he's being very intentional. Find out who they are, what they like, when they're up, where they hang out. Like find out everything you can about them, and pursue after them and try to reach them with your messaging. So Brandon, tell me in South Florida, what does that look like?
Well, I think that we have a human condition where everyone has relational problems, everyone has family problems, everyone has parenting problems, marriage problems, financial problems, workplace problems. Everyone's got issues. And we live in a generation today where no one is thinking, wow, I think the answer is inside the church. We don't live in that world anymore. They drive by churches every day, but they don't think there's any solution inside of that place among those people. And we know that we have the solution to all of those things, and that solution is Jesus. So for me, branding is putting out there in front of them, hey, there's an answer that I think would help you tremendously. Our branding is Live a Better Story. And we just put a language out there in front of people that they understand, that are driving by our facilities or see us on Facebook, that I think make us more successful in reaching people that would never think to come to our church before.
I love the idea of Live a Better Story. Like we just want to be the place in our town where if you're just in a rough spot in life, where you just think of like, hey man, there's got to be something better than this. Like we want to be the place that people say, oh, there's that one place where people go and they live a better story. I should try that out. You know, I'm going through a divorce right now. I don't even know what in the world's going on. I need to go live a better story. Like, and we want to just own that in the minds of people over time. And we're going to build that brand of like, hey, this is the place where you come when you want to live a better story. You know, we as a church, we make decisions in line with that as well. And that's the beauty of a brand, because we have a way to make decisions. You know, we just recently, as a very young church, not even a year old, we started offering Financial Peace University. And the idea is that, hey, there's a lot of people in our area that really need help. And that's a tool that we can provide that to help them live a better story.
Yep.
So Brandon, can you talk about anything else that we've done even recently that helps people to live a better story?
Yeah, so I just real quick on the Financial Peace University, it's a financial pain point that everyone feels. And of the people that joined the group, half of them have never been in a small group before in their life. But it was a way to connect with them and meet a need that they have. Another thing that we do is we do a series-based teaching highly around felt needs, communicating, hey, God wants to speak into your relationship. God wants to speak into fill in the blank. Also, people want to be part of something that's making a difference. So we've partnered with a great local food bank called Feeding South Florida, who's been here for decades. So they've got a reputation of great ministry, and we get to partner alongside of them in serving and giving. And then someone who's an outsider sees, oh, okay, this church is actually doing something that's bigger than just get more people in the building.
We have to be intentional about these things because it really does line up. Like, it creates alignment with all our decisions and what we're trying to do. And language is a big part of that. So Brandon just mentioned several phrases that are key phrases in our church. Make a difference, you know, live a better story. There's all these things, find freedom. We want people to discover their purpose. So these type of phrases really help to shape a culture. And Brandon, tell us about the culture. Like, what's the culture at Vibrant Church?
That's a great question. Culture trumps everything. You can have a great vision statement. You can have great people. But if your culture is not right, nothing's right. Culture is the way that someone feels when they come. And that begins with that online brand. So I had a conversation even this last week with someone who had been attending our church the last couple of months, has never been in a church environment in their life. And they were online and they liked the good vibes they saw with our brand, but they saw pictures of people that looked like them happy at our church. And they're like, well, I think I could go there because there's someone who looks like me and it seems like a good experience for them. And that's all part of the online culture. But then when they come, what they see in person matches what they saw online. So they're seeing happy faces and high fives and a joyful environment, which is part of that culture. So a big piece of our culture is we don't do handshakes, we do high fives, because high fives is really hard to not smile when you get a high five. And when you've got 5 high fives before you even got a seat, your arm's worn out, but so is your face, because that smile is contagious.
Yeah, and it's so good so when you're building a brand, when you focus on a brand, you're being very intentional about things like a high five. Like, we're just asking questions and we're saying, hey, this is how we do that here. And I just believe it gets you further faster. A lot of churches struggle for years and years and years until they finally figure out their culture, like it kind of forms organically. But what if it doesn't have to take that long? What if you could just figure that out from day one and start to live it out?
Yeah.
I think it could make a huge difference for any church. Like, no matter where you are, just start right now. Start figuring that out. Ask yourselves those right questions. So there's this thing that back in the 90s, Apple computers were, you know, they're the most valuable brand in the world right now. So I like to look at them and see, like, why are they so amazing as a brand? So in the 90s, they were struggling, like they were going under. And they hired Steve Jobs to come back. They actually fired him in the 80s. And then in the 90s, they said, hey, can you come back and rescue us? And he did. And they had about 30 products. And he came back and he said, hey, we're going to get rid of everything except for 4 products. And these are the 4. We're going to offer a consumer level product, and we're going to offer a pro level product, and we're going to offer a desktop and a laptop for the consumer, and we're going to offer a desktop and a laptop for the professional. And that's it. So if you grew up in the 90s, like, you recognize the iMac, that bubble thing that everybody had, and you just it was in the movies, like it was everywhere. But because he simplified it, people could identify, I need that. Oh yeah, I'm a creative person. and I need a professional level, laptop that can help me do what I do. Or hey, I'm just for doing stuff for fun. I need an iMac. That thing looks cool. And Steve Jobs, even like the beauty of what a lot of what he did is he simplified, so you could just like quickly as a consumer identify like, oh, that's what I need. And he also like he got the best designer he could find to create a great looking product. So he simplified and he created something beautiful that people could relate to. And again, that's a lot of what a brand is. It's how do you simplify who you are so people can say, oh, I need that. That's exactly what I need in my life. So we at Vibrant Church, and one of the models that we've seen is that how do you simplify what a church is? And really, it boils down to four things. One, there's a God piece. It's where people connect to God. Number two, it's a relationship piece where people connect to each other. Number three, it's a growth piece where people are able to grow, or another way to say it is to be discipled. And then number four is it's a significance piece, like where people are able to serve and to make a difference. And if we can communicate these things really well, then and very consistently with the same language, people begin to get it more quickly. So, Brandon, why don't you talk about what does this look like at Vibrant Church?
Well, first off, I'm not that smart. I know there's some churches out there that they can do 45 to 100 different ministries successfully. I'm not that good. And I would question sometimes if the one that has 40, if they're doing any of them really good. I think that doing a lot of things makes a lot of things mediocre. And I think Jesus is worthy of mediocre, or worthy of way more than mediocre. So for us, we're going to do four things, and we're just going to do them great. So we're going to do great Sunday morning services with the unchurched person in mind. We're going to have great connect groups or small groups helping to foster relationship and build community and help people look more like Jesus because they can ask questions. We're going to do a growth track where people discover their purpose. People want to know, why were they created? Why now? Why here? And why am I special and unique? And because we believe they're created in the image of God, so we want to help them discover that Imago Dei. And then serve teams. People want to use their gifts to make a difference. People don't want to just fill a hole. People want to find their lane. So we just help people find their lane to be in a place where they just love to be able to connect and contribute to other people.
Yeah, it's so good. And really a brand, like it's not about us, it's about them. And then that's another big reason why we need to, as a church, focus on a building a brand. Like we do ministry, yes, but we like build a brand around it so that you're focusing on them. Like it's their preferences, it's what they need. We're looking at it through the lens of like who we're trying to reach and who we're trying to serve, and that's what a great brand does. Um, so we simplify it and we create something really simple because they need simple. Like as an insider, if I've been in church all my life, like I know there's like 112 things to understand about God and being part of the church and all that stuff. And that's cool. It's taken me my whole life to kind of figure that out. But it's not about me. A lot of times as an insider, you get bored. So then you play with things, you make it more complicated. And that's very natural. So, but if you're building a brand, it helps keep you in check. So
Yeah.
you're not doing those type of insider things, which makes people on the outside feel like they don't belong, that they can't understand this. So Brandon, how do you relate to your city?
Yeah, so one of the things I did when I first moved here, because I wasn't from here, is I went to the local Starbucks and I just literally watched how people dressed and interacted because I wanted to understand the culture that I lived in, and how do I bring the gospel into their world. So I literally made clothing decisions based on where I lived and how people I wanted to reach dressed. Um, I went and met with the local chambers of commerce and talked with them about how do you what's happening in the city, what are the pain points in the city, and how can a church be a part of that. And the more that I got connected into the people of the city, the more we were able to gain influence and have opportunities.
Yeah, that's so good. So again, it's about them. It's about how do we reach out to them and how do we connect with them, the people in our city, so that they understand that, our brand is really built around who they are. So let's take a look right now as we're just going to transition to more of a, um, uh, I guess you would say more of a practical, like, what does this really look like? Um, so let's take a look at how we do this. So if you're going to build a brand, um, if you decided this is something you should do, then it starts with four things. It's really your strategy, which is a lot of what we talked about just now. And then out of your strategy, it's these four things. You have to get a great logo in place. You have to get your branding elements and your fonts, your colors, those type of things. You have to get a website that's amazing built, and then you have to get some signage that creates a really good experience on your property. If you can get those four things done, like, you'll be well on your way to building a great brand with your church that people they'll say, "Hey, I need that," and it'll
Yep.
speak to them. We also have a thing at Church Brain Guide where it basically it's a workshop, and we'll just help you do this. We'll basically teach you what it is and then do it for you. We'll just do it right. We'll get the right logo design, the right website. It's all based on your vision, your calling, so to speak, to your city. But it's just the right playbook that we've seen work over and over and over again, and we're going to apply it to your church, and it's going to help you to grow and see some tremendous success. So the logo piece is really a great logo is very simple. It almost looks like there's not much to it. Like, it's just a representation of the vision. It should have a story behind it that's in line with your vision. So when you design it, it should have that type of a feel like, hey, there's something more to this. And people aren't going to look at your logo and be like, oh, I see that this guy came from Iowa and like started a church and wants to be whatever. They're not going to see that, but they're just going to know it feels right. So your logo is important. Along with that, your branding, your colors, your fonts, those type of things. So this is the Vibrant branding. This is the logo for Vibrant. And on the right, you can kind of see some stuff about colors and some of the things that we're using. By the way, the Vibrant brand is the only brand I've ever created that uses the color pink. Just kind of a neat little fact, because we're in South Florida and like that's cool. Like, we can do that. We can't do that in Michigan. So anyway, just looking at the audience and who we're trying to reach. So Brandon, tell me about the branding, the actual physical, like the logo, the colors, and how this is played out in the city.
Well, I think it's a connection point. Even when you look at the church underneath Vibrant, you see these curved parts of the brand that speak to, they're all kind of connecting to each other and pointing towards each other, which is the kind of church that we wanted to be. At the same point, we picked a color palette that was going to connect with the city that we were in. Like you said, we're in South Florida, so it needs to look and feel like South Florida. And even the word vibrant in the cursive, it speaks to someone who is a business professional. At the same point, it's not really crisp lines like a Microsoft, because we do want to lean a little bit younger. I'm a younger pastor when it comes to it being a church planter. So it needs to reflect my city, but at the same time, it needs to be a reflection of who I am and who God's called us to be specifically.
Yeah, and tell me about the truck, right? We wrapped your truck and it just gets some attention in town. So tell us about the truck.
Uh, every single week almost, we'll get a comment from a first time guest saying, I saw your truck on the road so many times and I just had to check out your church. So we wrapped my truck to be a matte black, because you don't see matte black very often. And on it was Vibrant and Live a Better Story. And we were pointing people to the website, and so many people have gone to our website because of that. And some of our biggest givers and some of our highest level serving people found out about us because they saw the truck, and it helped start a conversation.
Right. So awareness is a big part of building a brand. Like, you have to build awareness so people know that you exist. And the truck is just another way for us to do that. Our brand also at Vibrant, it leans more masculine. So that's intentional. And I think this is just a tip for any church that's out there. If you can build a brand that a dad can show up to and feel like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I could be a part of this. You're going to be more likely to get the family to come back. So again, it just leans a little bit more masculine in how it looks. And I'll tell you, like, our marketing really, we target women in our marketing. We'll put stuff out on Facebook and some of that stuff. But when people show up on property, we just want the dad to be like, oh, okay, it's not so bad. So again, branding is about being intentional. And every decision is really intentional so that we are able to shape the experience that we want people to have. So the next thing is your website, and we have to get your website right. It's a tool. It's the primary tool that people go to when they're checking out your church. I think it's like 7 out of 10 times they're going to go pull out their phone, check out your website before they show up. Brandon, what's the website been like for Vibrant Church? How have we used it as a tool?
Yeah, that's totally true. I would say at least 8 out of 10 first-time guests have checked us out online between our website and our social media, which very much reflects our website. And of the people that come to our church, very few of them spend any time on that website. So we very much have designed the website per Michael's guidance towards that guest experience, trying to convince them to come and plan a visit.
So the website is it has to do a few things, and it has to do it well. So in our membership area, so I'm going to do a screen share again and just show you a little bit of our membership area. There's modules that kind of show you how to do these things and how to do it well. So one of them is a website experience, and we want to teach you how to do this well. If the website is about you, then it's not a good website. The website needs to be about the needs of your audience and how you can help them become the hero of the story that they want to be. So there's a dad out there that wants to be a great dad. There's a single mom. There's people that are just single in general, and they want to find, great relationships. They want to be the hero of their story. And how do we position your church to be that hero so that you can reach them by really speaking to them? So inside of our modules, there are different downloads that you can get to help you build this well. So the diagrams that I'm showing you right now, like these are just roadmaps and playbooks basically to help you create these things so that you can do it the right way and see more people showing up at your church as a result of that. And then not only that, like because you're doing it the right way, you're going to see more people showing up, but also more people sticking. Like they don't just drop off because the message you put out there and the experience you're providing is in alignment. It doesn't break their trust. It builds their trust so they want to stick around. So the fourth piece of this is to make sure your signage is good. Like it needs to be welcoming and inviting. It needs to speak your brand. It needs to speak the message without them even having to speak to a person. So I've got a few different slides here that I'm going to go through that just show some of the branding for Vibrant. And again, this is the signs and everything around our property. Right now we meet in a school, but we're doing our very best to transform that school into a church every week. So very large directional signs, restrooms, auditorium, kids, growth track. We're just pointing people to the right directions without them even having to ask somebody. We're just saying, hey, this is where you need to go. And then when they get comfortable, like they want to be anonymous, when they get comfortable, they can then, talk to somebody if they want to. And then also we have our values up. So before somebody even talks to Brandon, the pastor, they can begin to understand what Vibrant Church is all about. That's what great brands do. You don't have to talk to the CEO of the company to understand if you need the product. And so in church world too, like, hey, what if people could understand their need for your church before they even talked with you? And again, that's what signage helps you do. It's what being intentional about a lot of these things will help you to accomplish. So again, Brandon, can you tell me a little bit about our environment and how that's affected people coming to our church and deciding that they want to be a part of it?
It's been a massive piece of it. Even the one you can see right there, the know God wants to have a relationship with me. It really clear, like you don't have to have a Bible degree or have ever gone to church in order to understand what we want for you. And that's really the language that we're trying to build. And in the environments, we want to not look like a school. And I'd go so far as to say, and not look like a church. We want to look like Vibrant. We want to create an environment that they're like, man, I'd love to come back here. This place looks great. And we get so many comments about, wow, you transform. I didn't even know I was in a school. That looks amazing. And branding helps put all of those pieces together.
Yeah. So again, this is just what a brand is. And I just wanted to kind of recap. If you're going to build a brand, if you decide this is something you want to do, I would highly recommend it. It's just about being intentional. What is the story you're putting out there that people in your community can connect with and say, I want to be a part of that? And it starts with these four things. underlying it is the strategy piece. So I would say, hey, listen, make sure you get a good strategy in place to begin to understand who you're reaching, and then physically start to build out these four components. The logo, make sure you get it right. It's the thing that people are going to see the most out of anything else that you do. Like, they're going to see the logo the most. So just get it right. Don't try to skimp on it and have the high schooler in your church design it. Like, just make sure it's done right. Your brand elements, the colors, the fonts, those type of things, like, make sure you hit that so you're on point, so you build trust. Make sure the website is welcoming and inviting to new people. It's not insider. It's very intuitive to use, and the experience is really designed with a focus that gets people to show up. And then make sure you have a great experience on property, that when people show up, there's signs and directional things to be welcoming and inviting, and also share your values. Now that we didn't talk about the people piece of it, but it's a combination of, like, you have it on display, but then the people that are your greeters and your ushers and those people have to then live it out. So it's a big part. They work together, and it really creates a culture, like Brandon was talking about, where you have a strong culture that's inviting towards new people. So again, I have a branding workshop that's coming up, and I just wanted to take a moment to let you know that it's on June. The next one's on June 30th. So I'd love for you to jump in and be a part of that. And again, this is just where I help to guide you through this process and actually do it for you. Brandon, I did this with Vibrant Church. I walked you through some of this stuff. And what was your experience like, and what's some of the benefits that you're seeing as a result of it?
Yeah, so I would just say I love design, I love logos, I love brands, I love great websites and signs. But one of the things that I had so many people share before we launched our church was hire someone to do this right. You have to get this right. People will see this and decide whether they're coming to your church or not based on your presence online, which is your logo, your brand, your website. And they show up to your church, it's your signs. And one of the best decisions we made was have Michael work with us to define who we are. And he didn't just give us a cool, trendy brand. He gave us a brand that matched us. And that is the difference between what you'd find for really, really cheap online, is they're just going to give you something that looks cool because that's all they can afford to do. But Michael made it so it fit us. And so don't do it on your own. And what I've learned as a associate pastor on the executive team of a very large church is you're either going to pay on the front end or you're going to pay on the back end. And this is one of those things where if you pay on the front end, it will pay for itself over and over and over again, or you cannot do it and you'll just pay on the back end because you won't have an influx of new people coming to your church because of your great branding online. So branding is a massive part of us getting a first-time experience in order for people to come and to see if Vibrant is right for them.
And we've created a very exclusive branding package that just serves churches extremely well. I've decided that, hey, what I want to do with my with my life is really to serve the local church and to do it well. Use everything that I've got to serve the local church. So our membership area is really filled with all sorts of resources to help you do this well. So as part of the branding workshop, you'll have access to this, like every resource that we have, including a membership. Like, we'll help you to do that membership piece really well, which is extremely important to get people to buy into your vision so they don't just disappear through the back door. We want to show you how to do that well. So make sure you just check that out and take a good look at our branding workshop. Again, it's coming up on June 30th. Go to churchbrandguide.com and you'll see workshop on there. Click on that. And I'd love to set up a conversation, just a phone call with you to see if this is a good fit for you. And I'd love for you to be a part of it. Again, my passion is to help the local church to become, everything that it was intended to be in your community. Our world needs it. Like, we have to do this. We have to get it right. And I want to partner with you so I can get you going in the right direction when it comes to your branding. So, hey, thanks for joining us today. Brandon, any final thoughts before we close it out?
Yeah, Michael is someone who's been in this world for a very long time. He is proven, he is trusted, and he is one that's going to help you get it right the first time. And you just need to do it. Do the workshop. It's going to make a massive impact in your church.
Hey, thanks, Brandon. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining us. If you want to check out Vibrant Church, go to yourvibrantchurch.com. Also, if you want to reach out to Pastor Brandon, what's a good way to do that?
Yeah, I think the best way to hit me up would be on social media. On Facebook and Instagram, I am at Brandon Sarig.
Awesome. And Brandon is amazing. Like, you need to hit him up and just kind of pick his brain about anything that you want. He's so willing to help. His heart's amazing. So make sure you do that. Hey, thanks again for joining us on Church Brand Guide. Hopefully this helps you understand why do churches need to pay attention to build a brand, and what is the first things that you need to do if you're going to do it. If you're just deciding, hey, we need to build a brand, like, what are the first things you need to do? I hope this helps you out and gets you started in the right direction. My name is Michael Prasad with Church Brand Guide, and I'll see you next time.